Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
Hello friends, welcome back to the Pro Physique Code. Coach Sarah here, and I am joined today by Coach Ben. So we are going to be holding it down today for the lifestyle podcast for this week. So we're happy to have you guys here, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. We're just so grateful to have you guys here today. And so I wanted to let Ben take a minute to introduce himself to you guys. If you hadn't checked out his YouTube channel before, this is your sign. Go check it out for sure. He's got a lot of great content on there. But Ben, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kick off this wonderful nutrition podcast today.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? It's good to be back on the code. It's been a hot minute since I've been on, but I've been a Pro Physique coach for coming on 4 years now, 3.5, 4 years. Working with the team, my background just real briefly is I've lost and sustained 50 pounds. So I used to compete in powerlifting, higher body weight, right? Now I compete in men's physique. Done a few shows now, several photo shoots, all this sort of thing. And, my approach, like as a coach, is about leading by example and giving practical resources to make this whole process of, losing weight and sustaining weight loss doable in an easy way, right? And that's just kind of a quick little, overview. We're going to talk about that some more here today.
Awesome. Well, that's great. No, I love that approach for you. And I think you're very relatable as someone who's gone through that process of a big weight loss jump, but you've done what a lot of people can't do, and the fact that you've kept it off all this time. And we can definitely dive more into that later. But, share with us today kind of what your thoughts were about the topic for today's podcast, kind of where you see that kind of fitting into your overall coaching strategy and kind of how you approach your clients.
Yeah, like we had talked about, we thought it'd be a good idea to put together this podcast going over, okay, we design a macronutrient plan for our clients, or heck, maybe not even one of our clients, maybe just someone who's just trying to get in better shape, maybe lose a little weight, maybe even maintain their weight, or whatever, right? Macros are great, right? We need to hit those numbers, but it's all about practicality. Like, what does that actually mean? Because we got to lay a foundation. Right? Because when we look at what causes fat loss, what causes weight loss, it comes down to the amount of calories that we consume each day, right? So we got to be in that calorie deficit. And what are our calories made up of, right? That's often overlooked, and as coaches, this is on our mind all the time. So oh, it's second nature, carbs, fats, protein. Hey, for someone just starting off, it can seem a little overwhelming, right? So I have a structured approach I like to use with my clients, and we're going to talk about here today to make it easy to sustain and also replicate in a realistic manner, right? So the first thing I like to do with my clients is go, okay, let's be able to identify what our calories are made up of, like we discussed just a second ago, protein, carbs, and fats, right? From there, okay, we need some structure for our day, because if we start logging our calories on a tracking app, or maybe we have a spreadsheet, however we like to stay accountable to ourselves and report to our coach our numbers or averages for the day and the week, that sort of thing, we need some structure, because otherwise it's going to turn into macro Tetris, right? Because I don't know about you, but if I don't have any plan for my day, and look, we're on the go all the time, we're busy, right? It just becomes a matter of going, hopefully my macros line up, and that's not fun, right?
Yeah.
And
there's sometimes where I end up with wonky macros at the end of the day. I'm like, I have 10 fat, 15 carbs, and then like 40 protein. What the hell am I going to eat? Like, a lot of my clients ask that question a lot. It's just like, but you're right though. I think having a plan and understanding like how to have that structure in place, but backing up even further though, how do we create that structure? I think is a great place to start.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So once we're able to identify what our calories are made up of, right? It's protein, it's carbohydrates, and fats. We now need to decide, okay, how many meals do I want to have each day, or do I need to have each day, right? Because let's say we have, two kids, we work for a living, right? We got things to do. Okay, well, hey, maybe before we start our busy day, we're having our first meal. Maybe we have a lunch break, around noon, we can have another meal. And then maybe after work, before we take the kids to practice or after we get home or whatever, that's when we can get another meal. Maybe we can squeeze in another one midday when we have our midday workout or something, right? Okay, so 3 or 4 meals a day, whatever, right? You decide, whatever's best for you. This is going to eliminate snacking. It's going to keep satiety in a good spot and keep us on plan, right? Talked about structure before. This creates that, right? Um, from there, something that has helped me tremendously, and I think is easy to conceptualize for a lot of people, is what I call the 3 to 5 single ingredient per meal rule for your foods. Okay, so I go, okay, always, always, always start with your main protein source. All right, add your main or complex carbohydrate to that meal, and then from there, add a vegetable or a fruit or both if you want to, right? And then a couple lower calorie condiments to make your food taste good, right? And then from there, we have a complete meal. Now, I think it's important to back up a step here and go, okay, we talked about the protein, the carbs, the fats. We have to talk about what they are, because there's a difference between the protein source such as chicken breast and, let's say, ribeye steak, right? Okay, the ribeye is great, but it's also very high in calories from fat, right? So you got to go, okay, what's a single ingredient source of each macronutrient, right? So chicken breast, right? The majority of the calories are coming from protein, right? There's zero from carbs. There's minimal calories from fat, right? Carbohydrates, what's a good example? Potatoes, right? The majority of the calories are coming from carbs, zero from fat, minimal calories from protein. We look at a dietary fat source. Here's a good one, right? Olive oil, 100% of the calories are coming from fats, zero from carbs, zero from protein, right? When you make your meals with these single ingredient sources of each macronutrient, it's easy to calculate. So I'm lazy. I need things to be easy, right? So it's easy to calculate. And it's easy to replicate that, right? If there's a whole bunch of ingredients, in every meal I make, it's going to be hard to stay on my calorie plan, my macro plan. Like we talked about, we get to the end of the day and my protein's low, my carbs are high, my fats are low. It's like, oh man, what do I do? Hey, we could circumvent that problem by using that approach, right? And we could replicate that. And you're going to be getting a good amount of food for each meal, which can help with your satiety and everything like that, right? So that structure right there really can help things, right? Being
Yeah.
able to identify single ingredient foods, right, to make your meals, and then having that approach for each meal. So if you decided I'm going to have 3 meals every day to hit my macro targets, okay, use that approach of protein first, add your carb, add a fruit or a veggie, couple condiments, there you go, right? And that simply lays the foundation. And then from there, you can get as creative with your meals as you want to or not. But if you keep your meals to just a handful of ingredients, it's easy to start things off. And, Sarah, it helps you gain momentum, right? Like, let's say you do that for a week or two and then go, okay, now I'll get a little more creative with this chicken and rice. I'm a little sick of having chicken, rice, and broccoli or something. Okay, then do it, right? But
Yeah,
this
you can
helps
get
you kind
very
of
pro
learn
sometimes
the
starting off.
basics.
Yeah, it makes it
Yeah,
easy. It makes it easy when you're starting off, just starting simple. I think that's a very simple approach that you mentioned, and I love that approach because, again, it helps you learn, number one, what's in foods and what are those single ingredient, macronutrient based foods. And then when you get the
absolutely.
hang of it, and like you said, build momentum up, build some consistency up, and build some trust in yourself that you can do this, that you can track and log, and you start to
Yes.
feel better, maybe more energy in the gym, better pumps. Maybe the belt loop is a little bit, you can pull it a little bit more. Maybe you're losing off the waistline a
Sure.
little bit. Then, like you said, then you can expand out your food range. Then you can try, okay, maybe I
Absolutely.
want to have like a filet or something like that as well that I
Yeah.
know has a little more fats, but then maybe I don't have the cheese or the nuts with that
Right.
meal as well. And so you start learning a little bit more about what is in foods. But I think you're right. I think keeping things simple starting off, and it may sound boring, but again, I think chicken, broccoli, and rice sounds good for most days. And then it's like,
Right.
when they're out of something at the store, okay, let's switch it up, maybe
Yes.
chicken thighs, or maybe we introduce some turkey, or maybe there's some, squashes are really big right now because it's fall. And so let's,
Sure.
change
Of
up our
course.
fruits and vegetables. And so I
Right.
think it can be very helpful. And I think a lot of our listeners can find this helpful as far as like starting with the basics first. And if you are maybe overwhelmed with your macros, with fitting things in throughout the day, maybe go back to your baseline and your basics, and
Yep.
seeing what you were eating, when you first started this journey, and being like, wow, I never knew that it was that simple to do this.
Right. No, that's a great point. And like you mentioned, if when those foods kind of get a little dull, get a little boring, you want to get more creative, right? It becomes a matter of just swapping out maybe even just one of those ingredients for that meal. Like we use the example of chicken, rice, and broccoli because it's easy to conceptualize, right? Okay, well, maybe I'm having 40 grams of carbs with my lunch or something. It's coming from rice. Maybe one day I'll swap that out for 2 pieces of wheat bread, right? And now I have my chicken breast. I'm like, you know what? I've been kind of missing a barbecue chicken sandwich, right? Wait, maybe you could put a little barbecue sauce on there or something. Fit it in your calories. It's easy to do. It's easy to make that swap because it's replacing another one carb source for another, and you could go from there. I mean, heck, what I have for lunch today, um, it was a lean burger on a bun, right? Easy to track. I had some potatoes on the side, just threw my air fryer real quick. So I made, quote unquote fries, and it fits into my macros. It tastes good, and it keeps me from wanting to, go through the drive-through and get a burger and fries somewhere, right? Because yes, it's not gonna be 100% like, Five Guys or something, but it's close enough, right? It kind of scratches that itch because if I deprive myself of any food that I enjoy, maybe I could stick to a diet for 30, 60, 65 days. I can't make it a lifestyle, right?
Exactly.
That's why it's important to kind of have that education there.
Exactly. And I think you bring up a very valid point as far as just like, we embrace flexible dieting here at Pro Physique. We're not those that we can create meal plans for our clients. We can help them create their own meal plan, which is what I personally love to do with my clients. I love looking at their food
Absolutely,
diaries
same.
and being like, what do you enjoy eating? What digests well for you? Because I know for me, the cruciferous vegetables of broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts don't do well for me. So I find other veggies that digest better, but for someone else, that could be the ones that they really enjoy. And so we want them to
Right.
have the foods that they enjoy. But I think you're right, though, creating almost like similar meals of what you might be craving, like the burger and fries. I personally love like air fried sweet potatoes. I just cut them up into
Oh
little
yeah,
strips. They're just like sweet potato fries. And I'm like, I'm
they're
actually
the
going to
best.
feel better after I eat those versus if I was going to go through a drive through and have all of it. Yes, it's probably going to
Right.
taste, for 5 seconds in my mouth better, but
Right.
but is it going to make me feel better in the long term, which is what I also encourage my
Right.
clients to look at as well. I'm like, if you're going to be doing that, how do you want to feel in 5 hours, or how do you want to feel tomorrow? You
That's a
know?
great point. Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
100% because it's feeling your performance as well in the gym, right? So let's say that was my dinner. I ran through the drive-through, like you said, for the 5 seconds you ate, you're like, okay, this is good. You don't sleep great that night. You wake up and you have an early morning workout. You're like, oh man, I don't feel great. I'm feeling kind of bogged down, poor energy. Just kind of reflect on that, right? Like, don't beat yourself up on the fact that you're like, oh man, I went outside my calorie targets a little bit here because I slipped up, whatever. We're not perfect, right? But kind of learn from that and go, okay, maybe next time I should set myself up in a better chance for a better chance to succeed by changing X variable in my day, right? Okay, I know that I have this engagement to go to after work, every Friday, I don't know, every Thursday and Friday night or something.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay,
happy
well,
hour or
hey,
something. Yeah.
right, exactly. Like have something ready to go. This way, okay, well, maybe I'm just gonna bring up, a quick protein shake with me, or some kind of like I like to say, easy win type meal where it's like something that was already pre-cooked, like that I could throw together in seconds. Quick example, right? I can make something like a turkey breast wrap, right? I could run to any grocery store, whether I'm at home or even traveling. I could pick up some turkey breast or some chicken breast lunch meat or something like that. Get some kind of veggies, get some wheat tortillas or something, and put on some hot sauce or mustard or something, right? It'll get me through in a pinch, right? And
Exactly.
this way you put yourself in a good position, to succeed just day to day in a realistic scenario.
Exactly. Yeah. I call it my like oh shit meal. It's just like, oh shit, I have a meeting
Yeah,
that I have back-to-back meetings or back-to-back client calls or whatever is going on for my day. And I'm just like,
right,
I know I have frozen chicken strips in my freezer. I have frozen vegetables and I have Uncle Ben's ready rice. Yes, it
right,
may not be the most exciting meal ever, but
right.
I know in a pinch I can have a meal ready in 2 minutes and it's not gonna screw up my digestion. It's not gonna make me feel lethargic and it's not gonna impact me in a mental capacity of being like, yeah, I
Right.
failed. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I just had a meal and I know for dinner I can adjust my macros accordingly to whatever I did make myself in 2 minutes for lunch that day. And so I think that's,
Absolutely.
but if you don't have that skill set to begin with, then like you said, understanding the structure first, I think really contributes to your overall success.
Right. Yeah. The last thing we want as coaches, Sarah, is to have our clients blindly following a meal plan, right? We want to provide them with the education to succeed so that years down the road, they don't even have to track their macros necessarily, right? To go, oh, okay, that looks like, 6 ounces of a sirloin steak because I weighed it a whole bunch of times, in the past. I know what that looks like, right? I know with this amount of, rice or, potatoes or whatever looks like, oats, whatever it is. And you could go from there, and also, it's important to take a little bit of time to make your food taste good, right? So that you stick to it, and I eat a
Yeah.
lot of similar foods every day, but I don't eat the same damn thing every day, right? You could change things up and see what digests well with your body, right? What your body processes well, and you could go from there, and
Yeah.
it keeps things simple.
What are your go-tos
Um,
as far as like making your food taste good? What do you like to do?
yeah, so some things I like to do, is, and I'll use portion control with this. I don't like to go too crazy, but I will use some sugar-free condiments. For example, like for a breakfast, if I have time to make it in the morning, I like a good omelet and then oatmeal on the side, right? Can't beat that, right? Especially this time of year, it's a fall, like apple cinnamon, pumpkin spice, this sort of thing. It's all good, right? So in my oats, let's say I'll put in apples and I'll put in some cinnamon and I'll put in like 20 grams of sugar-free maple syrup, right? I'm not putting in the whole bottle. I'm measuring it out. Just this way my digestion isn't, messed up at all. Everything's good, but I'm getting that good taste there for that food, right? For an omelet, I'll saute a bunch of veggies and put them in there, maybe a little bit of low-fat cheese or something, right? That stuff goes a long way. I mentioned the burger before, right? That's something a go-to for me. It's easy to make as well. Pasta and a ground meat, I'll go for lean ground meat, like maybe a 93.7 beef or turkey instead of a 85.15, right? And I'll just use something like plain pasta sauce, and I'll mix some wheat and white pasta. As long as it's fitting into my macro targets, I'm getting in enough fiber, that sort of thing, things are good, right? Those are some easy go-tos because it's easy to put together, right? It's not that labor intensive. Yeah, like maybe every now and then I'll do something like make, something like a protein pancake or something like that. And it's great. It tastes good, but it's a little bit time consuming to make, right? So those are my easy go-tos. How about yourself?
Yeah, so I love the sugar-free sauces as well. Again, I don't douse everything in it because we know I did that in past like competition preps and I ate a whole pint of Arctic Zero and used the Walton
Okay.
Farms and
Oh
ate
yeah.
those high fiber wraps that wreck you in half. And
Yes.
we've all done those things. And also, you
Yep.
learn by falling on your face. And when you have a bad day of digestion,
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, never again. You live
Right.
and you learn. But yeah, I like the Jihu sweet chili sauce. I use a lot on like
Oh,
my
that's the
chicken or
best.
my turkey. It's the best, honestly. It creates that same flavor that you would find at a restaurant. And so I like the teriyaki
Right.
sauce as well. So I use that occasionally on like my chicken or my turkey or my pork. And so I'll do that. And then I use a lot of
Solid.
spices. So I love
Okay.
Italian seasoning. We're both Italian, so we love that.
Yeah.
And then I love lemon pepper seasoning on my vegetables. So I'll do that on like green beans, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. And then, of course, I love things like I'm on a Hawaiian bread kick right now. And so
Ah,
everyone
okay.
loves sourdough. I tried it. I was like, I love and respect the sourdough people, but I'm just like, it's just not for me. I'm more of a sweet
Okay.
person when it comes to like my flexible dieting of what I want to fit into my macros. And
Gotcha.
so
Okay.
Hawaiian bread's my deal. And so if I'm gonna have a sandwich, it's gonna be on like a nice Hawaiian bread. But that's like,
Nice.
and I'll go into this too. Like I'm sure you do this with your clients as well. Like
Yeah.
89% of my day is those things like eggs, egg whites, cream of rice, fruits, vegetables, whole foods,
Right.
things like that. 10% of my day is those fun foods, and bread for me is one of my
Absolutely.
fun foods. So, um,
Right.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, no, those are all solid ones that I like as well. And something that helps, it creates parameters for ourselves with having, if you like to use like the 80-20 or 70-30 rule, whatever, a great parameter is your fiber intake,
Hmm.
right? Because if I'm getting in, roughly speaking, it depends what your calories are, right? But let's say I'm getting in 30-ish grams of fiber a day, right? That's going to ensure that I'm getting in from whole food sources, right? That ensures that I'm getting in, complex carbohydrates every day. I talked about oats earlier, right? So I'm having oatmeal in the morning, right? I'm having something like broccoli with my dinner or something. Um, I'm having, wheat pasta here and there, right? That sort of thing. I could put in some white bread. I could put in the Hawaiian bun, and it's just a marginal part of my daily caloric intake. Yes, it's probably has little or zero fiber. But that's okay because I'm hitting those numbers from other high quality sources, right? So there's nothing to feel bad about.
Exactly, exactly. So, what advice would you give? And I get this a lot from my clients as far as like and we probably see it a lot in the transformation challenge people as well. We call them
Yeah,
like the weekend warriors, as it were. Like they're
sure.
on point, structured, planned Monday through, let's say, Friday lunch. And then Friday dinner through Sunday evening, they're just like free for all off plan. What advice would you give someone to how to create some semblance of structure with those times where they want to be social, but they also don't want to like blow all their progress that they made during the week?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a great point. Glad you brought that up. So my mind goes to a couple places here. For one thing, is there's gonna be a time where that happens, right? We're like, oh man, that just didn't work. Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so we need to learn from that, right? So this way, next time we could be intentional going into that situation, right? So if we're going out to eat somewhere, right? We're in that situation Friday night, we want to get together with some friends or whatever, right? It's football season, Saturday afternoon we want to watch college football. Sunday we want to watch football again, right? Because it's NFL season, right? Whatever. Okay, so if we're going out to eat, I can order at most places something as simple as grilled chicken breast. I could get a sweet potato. I could get steamed veggies, and I could say, hey, just don't cook it in oil or butter, please. Right? Simple as that. Yes, I'm not bringing my food scale to the restaurant, but I know that chicken breast, okay, it looks like it's 6-ish ounces. And let's say it was actually 8, but I logged it as 6. Since it is a single ingredient food, the extra calories are going to be minimal and not put me well off plan, right? So intentionality goes a long way. This way, I can stay on track, and when I go out to eat, I don't have to get, baby back ribs or something if I'm going to the sports bar, right? I could get a grilled chicken sandwich on just a bun with veggies or something like that, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is, it's not against the rules to ever bring a meal with you somewhere, right? Doing contest preps before, it's something that we've had to do. And I'm not gonna stay away from doing something fun on the weekend or hanging out with family just because I'm working towards some kind of selfish goal I have or something, right? So I'll just bring it with me. People are like, hey, Ben, why do you have that meal with you? I'll be like, oh, I'm trying to get in shape for whatever. I'll just explain what I'm doing in a very nonchalant way. Maybe, okay, you brought up the transformation challenge. Maybe someone's doing the transformation challenge and maybe saying, oh, I'm doing this 90-day, get in shape thing, and I'm just trying to stay on track. And chances are, someone whoever asks you that is gonna be like, wow, you've got more willpower to me. More power to you. Okay, keep passing me the tortilla chips, and that's it, right? So that's all, So you can bring food with you. You go order intelligently when you go out to eat. You could look at menus for restaurants before you go if you know where you're going. If you don't, it's not a big deal, but you could go by like the parameters I just went over a minute ago. Those are some things that come to mind. Other things could be not entering the situation ravenous. So let's say it's going to absolutely be an untracked meal. Like let's say it's, a family member's birthday or something. Okay, like maybe we don't want to be imposing and bring our own food or whatever, right? Let's say it's at night. We're going to have a piece of birthday cake, right? Okay, so maybe when we go to that party, like I said, we don't want to be super hungry entering that situation. Maybe earlier in the day, we're having maybe 2, maybe 3 high protein meals, lower in calories, lower in fat, right, which is going to leave a lot of extra calories open for us, moderate to lower in carbs. So maybe for breakfast, I'm having something like a big egg white and veggie omelet. Maybe at lunch, I'm having my typical diet food lunch, right? The chicken breast, rice, some veggies, whatever. And then at 6 o'clock, when I go to the birthday party, I can have, and for lack of a better example, I've already mentioned it a few times, but maybe I can have a burger and a piece of cake. Maybe I'm not having any alcohol or something, right? Even if others are, maybe I'll have a Diet Coke. So there's just some ideas that come to mind.
Yeah, no, I love that approach. I think that's awesome. And it sounds flexible to me as far as just like, you are thinking on your feet. So it requires effort, obviously, on your end, on the client's
Yeah,
end to peruse the menus ahead of time. I like my clients that, I encourage them to almost like loosely track if they want to, as far as like finding a similar restaurant to where they're going to. Because we know things like On the Border, Olive Garden, PF Chang's, Longhorn, those McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, they're all in my Fitness Pal. And so you could
right.
try to loosely track something if you wanted to. If you know it's going to be there, like at a restaurant, or if you know it's going to be served at that meal or something like that too. But I love your idea around going in blind, as it were, as far as like if we have
Right.
no idea or no control, if it's like a wedding where it's like I'm not going to bring my food to a
Yes.
wedding, sorry, like I'm going to eat what's there, or I'm going to eat before or eat afterwards, depending upon if I'm in prep or not. And so it's like we make those kind of decisions for ourselves beforehand. And it's like, okay, maybe if I'm going in blind, I'm going to save 700-800 calories for that meal, like you said, mostly from fats and carbs. Never go into a meal starving ever. Sometimes drinking a protein shake on the way can be helpful to not go ham on the
Yeah.
appetizers and the drinks or anything there,
Sure.
because that's what we're all here for, obviously. But it'll
Right.
help you kind of keep that part of your brain, I feel like, calmer if you also have a
Yeah,
plan going into it. Because I think a lot of people are anxious when they go into social occasions because they
of
don't want
course.
that judgment, like you mentioned, as far as like keeping things positive. If you do bring your food to something that is appropriate to bring food to, like a potluck, a tailgate party, and stuff like
Right.
that, to where just like if you don't make a big deal out of what's on your plate and you're not off in a corner crying over your food, no one's going to pay attention to it. Like
Right.
they're going to be like, hey, what's that? I'm like, yeah, I'm just eating my food. I'm good. It's
Right.
like it's simple. Don't make a big deal out of it, because if you make a big deal out of it, then other people are going to be like, oh, wow, she's dieting, so she can't have all of
Right.
this. Like, that's what I try to tell my
Exactly.
clients is like, don't bring in that negativity into it. Just don't make a big deal out of it. Bring your food, get it done. Or vice versa. If it's like a potluck, then bring something that you've made, know the macros of, and is macro friendly. That way, there's going to be protein there. Load up on whatever you brought, which I always bring salad and veggies to every single one of my family occasions,
Go.
because
Yeah,
we're all
yeah.
good on everything else. Trust me.
Right.
There's
Especially
always
as
too much
Italians,
food.
right?
Yeah, I always bring the salad, I bring the veggies or whatever it's going to be for that day. And then I know I at least have 2 things there that I know that I can, it's going to make me feel good later on. And
Of
that's not going
course.
to blow my calorie bank or my macros for that day.
Right.
And then the rest of my plate could be a serving of birthday cake. It's just like, cool, that's
Right.
totally fine. But as long as you have a filling plate with that protein and that fiber, I feel like that does help with any sort of like, cravings or like munchy feelings you might be having during that meal, or feelings of like FOMO.
Absolutely. No, and I love that idea that you mentioned. Bring your own, like if you're going to that potluck, whatever, you bring your own food, and when everyone's snacking, you're snacking on mostly on what you brought, right? Because, okay, this will keep me on track with my goals. I'm still enjoying the social benefit of, this, get together, whatever, and you're good to rock and roll, and that's great practical approach. It's funny. There's a lot of, talk about how carbs are evil. They're gonna make you gain fat, all that sort of thing. What do you find is the most overly consumed macronutrient, Sarah?
It's fat.
It's fat, right? It's so easy to overconsume calories from fat. So that's why I always like to tell my clients, like, hey, it's really easy to overconsume these calories, right? I could be having that quote unquote healthy chicken and rice meal, But if I'm loading that meal with butter or something, right, and I'm not tracking it, or heck, maybe it's a healthy fat, right, quote unquote, with olive oil or avocado oil or something, I need to measure the amount I'm putting in. If I'm cooking an omelet, right, don't just put an unlimited amount of oil in the pan, right? Maybe we're using something like cooking spray or Pam spray, right? What are we putting on our bread when we make toast, right? Are we putting butter? Are we putting oil? Are we measuring it, right? Those little things add up. It's good to be cognizant of that as well. And it can be easy to adjust because I can swap out an 80-20 turkey for a 93-7 easily. And that same serving size of food, right? Let's say I want to have 6 ounces. Like I could cut the calories almost in half by going with the leaner cut. And now I don't feel like I'm eating less food and thus depriving myself of a good, solid, fulfilling meal, right? By making that simple adjustment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think you bring up a great point about we don't demonize any food group here. There are no good or bad foods in
Right.
our mind. There's just, yes, there are more nutrient dense foods, sure, that have more vitamins and minerals. Like, yes, a nice big ass salad is going to have more vitamins and minerals than a donut. Sure. But
Right.
it's just like both of them can be fulfilling. And I think both of them have their place in your world. And I think it is, we don't discriminate against that. We don't say, oh, you can't have this, you can't have this. No, I'm just like,
Right.
and that's not never how either of us, I think, viewed our preps either. As far as like, it's
Correct.
not like I can't have a donut or a Pop Tart or anything like that. But for right now, that's just not part of my plan. And that's okay. It's not like I can never have it ever again. But when
Right.
I do have it, it's going to be my choice to have it. It's not going to be
Right.
because it's there, because I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to load up with like 6 Krispy Kreme donuts or whatever. And
Right.
so I think there is an element of just awareness when you are making those decisions for yourself, as far as like swapping out things or demonizing foods or looking at foods as good or bad and things like that as well.
Right.
And just understanding that there is no black or white. It's all food, it's all fuel. Yes, we may feel
Right.
different on those foods, but there isn't a reason to negate one or the other. But I would say though, yes, contributing to things like, obesity and cholesterol and things like that as well, and heart disease. And there is, I would say, if we're going to not demonize one, but one that we have to be more careful with, I feel like for most people is going to be those fats. So.
Yeah, especially that saturated fat, right?
Mhm.
If we make the majority of our dietary fat consumption to be monounsaturated and the polyunsaturated fats, it's puts us in a better spot, right? Because if it's mostly cheese and butter and fatty cuts of meat and that sort of thing, yes, now we're looking at potential health concerns, right? So in terms of our appearance, yes, the diet is great. You also want to live a long, healthy, happy life, right? So identifying the proper sources of each is really going to help out, right? That's why I always recommend, hey, those oils like I talked about, the olive oil, the avocado oil, the sesame oil, the macadamia nut oil, right? The nuts, the nut butters, avocado, egg yolk, like the majority of your fats should come from those sources, right? And then if you want to put a little cheese on your omelet, like do it, right? But fit into your plan, you'd be good to go. In my last contest prep, I had 1 Pop-Tart every day. It was more so just to like prove that I could, quite honestly. I fit into my calories and it worked out all right, right? And it's not the majority of my consumption wasn't from those calories. And the other thing is, like, if I'm fitting in that Krispy Kreme donut into my nutrition every day, or a couple of them or whatever, yes, maybe we can do that. But the thing is, it's so calorically dense. You're not getting a ton of food. You're not getting the best bang for your buck. And it's so highly palatable that it's hard to put down, the box after you have just one, right? I would rather have sugar-free maple syrup and oatmeal, or make a protein pancake with a little sugar-free syrup and a packet of stevia or something. It's sweet. It gets a job done. Yes, it's not exactly the same, but again, it will serve the purpose for the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I encourage my clients as well with those fun foods, as I call them. They're not good, they're not bad, they're fun. Why? Because
Right.
they're fun when we eat them and they taste great. Sure.
Yeah.
So I encourage my clients too. And I use the example of Oreos with my clients because I think the
Okay.
Reese's Oreos and the Oreo Reese's are really big right now. And so I'm like, yeah, even myself, I can't have just one. Okay. I know myself. If I want to track it and log it and make it part of my day, I'm going to have the whole sleeve and I'm just going to
Right.
make some choices beforehand or afterwards and like, fit it into my day. But that's going to be something special that I look forward to and that I don't do very, very often. But I still think it is important to have something to look forward to when you are
Absolutely.
dieting. Some of the fun foods, like you mentioned, like I love the idea of your oatmeal with maple syrup. That's fantastic. I had chocolate brownie flavored cream of rice throughout my entire prep. That was my
That
chocolate
sounds
for the day.
awesome.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great. I also had like a smoothie at night. And so I think people are really into like the Ninja Creamies and things like that, as
Right.
well as like a dessert. And so for me, being like the person that does crave sweets, that honestly
Okay.
helped my sweet cravings at night, to where it's like,
Definitely.
but it was like protein powder, blended up frozen strawberries, frozen blueberries and blackberries and raspberries, had some yogurt in it and almond milk in it. And so, so it was still like, it had some fiber in it, it had some protein in it. So it was not just like chocolate sauce and,
Right.
and all those kinds of things. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a complete dessert, but it was something that was filling, that was sweeter to help me get that craving out. But then it also
Sure.
gave me something to look forward to at the end of my day as well. So how do you tell clients that may struggle with those kinds of cravings?
Yeah, so that's when I'll bring up some substitutions. I'll make a correlation of, okay, yes, a hot fudge sundae is great, right? But I can make something similar, like you just mentioned. I do the exact same thing. I don't even have a Ninja Creamy, and I'll make a protein ice cream, which just consists of frozen fruit, banana, strawberry, and then almond milk and protein powder. Maybe use a chocolate protein powder. So now I'm getting this chocolatey taste, um, right proportions, some ice in there, whatever. It's a great source of protein, right? It's going to be sweet. Maybe I could have that every night. Maybe if I'm watching the news or something at night, and I would usually have a bowl of ice cream or some chips or something. We're going to sweet analogy, right? So stick to that. That could replace that, right? So I usually like to go, okay, let's find a substitution. Could it be a Greek yogurt parfait or something, right? Non-fat Greek yogurt with some berries, and if you want to, put some granola on there, whatever, like fit it in, right? Like let's fill that void, because if we just, like I said before, if we deprive ourselves of foods that we like, 100%, it's gonna be hard to stick to for the long run. So let's fill that void with something, right? And then you can switch things up. You can have a quick couple go-tos and that sort of thing. And that's why also having that structure of going, okay, I have 4 meals today. I've got these macros. Like after I'm done with that awesome protein ice cream at night or whatever, like, okay, maybe I'm gonna go to bed in an hour and I'm not gonna be able to have, some chips or something afterwards, right? Or the Oreos. Like it's just not gonna fit the bill right now. And if I want to fit those Oreos in and I have the discipline to go, okay, well, I'm gonna keep it to 2 or something, then great, right? But you know yourself, right? Like know what your triggers are and all that sort of thing, right? And that can help out. And if you are more hungry or more snacky feeling at night, like your last meal of the day, whether that's dinner or like the snack that we talked about before, save some calories, make that a little bit larger perhaps, or make room for 2 meals there, right? Where it's that smaller, sweet tooth snack later on, like we talked about, like the Ninja Creamy smoothie or in your dinner, whatever, so that you put yourself in the best chance for success, right?
Yeah.
So those are some things I recommend and come to mind as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I'm just like, yes, it's like eat your fun little dessert and then just go to bed. But don't
Right.
forget too, like hydration as well. Like I find that
Absolutely.
also sometimes too, if people maybe stop drinking water after dinner and they're up for another 4 hours and you haven't drank any water and you're hungry and you're like, well, you might actually be thirsty,
Right.
as far as just like, when was the last time you actually drank your water? Was it with dinner? But dinner was at 5:30 with your kids and it's 9:30, you just put them to bed and you're hungry, but actually you might be thirsty. And so I have my clients actually do the water test, as far as like drink, 16 to 20 ounces of water, wait 20 minutes. Are you still hungry? And
Love
that
that.
normally solves itself. I'm like, either that or just drink a crap ton of water and just go to bed,
Right. Yeah.
and wake up and just say, I'm good. And just kind of like, not necessarily like suffer through it, but just being like, flip that switch
Yeah.
of being like, I have goals. I'm going to go to bed. I'm okay. This
Right.
food does not control me. I control the food and I make those choices accordingly.
Absolutely. Yup. And that's why it's important to roughly track your fluid intake, right? And you got the shaker bottle there. I've been sipping on water from the shaker bottle here. This helps me. I don't know about you, Sarah, but it helps me track my intake. Like I
Yeah.
know, okay, if I have 4 of these in a day, that's about 100 ounces. I'm good. And I try to have a little bit more. I'll try to get close to a gallon. If it doesn't happen, so be it. But if I have 4 or 5 of these in a day, spread it throughout the day, that's going to help things as well,
Yeah,
right? Because I don't want
exactly.
to have, a glass of water and now I'm having what, 6 ounces of water all day, and then, like you said, you're just thirsty at night when you thought you were hungry, right? And that sort of thing. Yeah, and drink something that you like. If you're like, I have to drink all that water, well, maybe put in like one Crystal Light packet into your water, right? Into like 64 ounces of your water. Or, as I just found last week, you could get Jolly Rancher sugar-free water flavor. Have you tried that?
I
I
have
tried it
not,
for the
but
first time
I
last week. I was like, oh wow, this is life-changing.
where did you find yours? I need to, is it the grocery store or is it Amazon?
just just at Walmart.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, even the Skittles sugar-free one, that one's awesome too. Or just regular Crystal Light. But one packet, I mean, what, 8 calories, right? Put that in half or two-thirds or all of your water for the day. That'll help things as well,
Yeah.
right? And something I do is I start my fluid intake early. Like I wake up and I will have one of these, and now I've got one down. And that way I can spread it throughout the day, right? So
Yeah.
quick little aside on fluid intake recommendations, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yes, exactly. And we both live in the South, and you're in Florida, I'm in Georgia, and so it's like it's hot and humid. It's still hot and
Yeah,
humid here. And so it's like I think it's a lot easier when it is hot and humid outside to actually
sure.
drink more water because you're
Absolutely.
hot, you're sweating, you're training hard. I like adding in like electrolytes into my water. I don't use like the liquid IVs or LMNTs. I use Ultima. It's 0 calories,
Okay.
zero sugar. You guys, it's great. They make travel
Yeah.
packets for travel, which is also awesome. But I have that on my training sessions because it actually helps me drink more water as well,
Right.
especially after training, because I don't want to feel that like weird like blood sugar thing or feel any
You
sort
feel
of
like you're
like
going hypo
dehydration.
after the session, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And so yeah, that helps me. And I drink a lot of my water in between meals as well, and I find that that helps with satiety. I'll drink
definitely.
some water with my meals, but I drink the majority of it in between because I find that
Same.
obviously doing things like this, talking with clients, you need to stay hydrated and need to keep that going. But then in the wintertime, I've resorted now to more teas. Um,
Mm,
I love a good like loose leaf mint tea or something like that as well. Something that's warm as it gets
yeah,
colder outside as well. That can be helpful for getting up your water intake.
absolutely. Have you ever had protein cocoa, Sarah? I'm sure you have.
I have not, but is it just
Okay.
like cocoa mixed? You just throw a scoop of protein powder in there?
I would just almond milk, protein powder, and
Hmm.
blend it up. And instead of having a cold shake, I mean, you could warm up the almond milk and just mix it together.
I'm gonna
And
have to
it's
try
just
that.
like hot chocolate. Yeah. So during those colder months, that's a winner for sure.
Oh yeah, I love
But
that. Yeah, I'll try that with my. I have the Core Pro. I have the chocolate peanut butter Core Pro, and so
oh,
that's like
awesome.
my favorite for like a whey casein blend, and so that'll probably be
Yeah,
really good. That could be very satisfying. Ooh, that's a good hack for nights as well. If someone's
definitely.
like winding down for the night, instead of like having if they've already had their dinner and dessert and they're looking for something to drink at night, that could be a good thing to have at night too with the kids, and before you go to
100%.
bed.
Yeah, and let's say the kids are having ice cream or something, you could have your protein cocoa, right? And be just fine.
Yeah,
I think real quick, Sarah, it would be a good idea to just touch on travel nutrition. Like if someone's
sure.
like, okay, I really want to nail my macros while I travel, it can be done because hey, a lot of people travel for work, right? And let's say we're flying, or even if you're driving. I mean, driving makes it a little bit easier, I guess. But there are plenty of things you can do,
Yes.
right? And kind of like my staple recommendations are, let's say you didn't bring anything. Okay, let's say you're like, oh man, I totally failed. I went on this work trip. I didn't even think about it. I was so focused on work, whatever. You could swing by in the grocery store and pick up the foods that you mentioned earlier, such as the frozen chicken breast, or at any Walmart, you can get chicken breast that is pre-cooked, but it's not frozen. It's kind of nah. It like they have the pre-seasoned good stuff there where you normally get like your rotisserie chicken. You can get it over there. The chicken breast. You can get wraps. You can get quick rice. You can get minute rice. For carbohydrates, back up a step here for the protein. I talked about the chicken breast, whether it's the frozen kind or the fresh kind. I was at my local Aldi the other day. They have it as well in the refrigerator section. You can get even tinned like light tuna and water, which is okay, but I hate the way that tastes, so I never do that. But if ever in a pinch, you could do that. You could get the deli meats like we talked about, whether that's ham, roast beef, chicken breast, turkey breast, that sort of thing. We got protein and carbs covered, right? I could get something like oats. I can get a couple microwave safe containers for like $3 at Walmart. I could just throw them away when I'm done, right? And I can get a 2-pound container of whey isolate at, let's just use that example, at Walmart, right? And make a shake, right? I could get a shaker bottle there. I could get a food scale there if I really wanted to, right? Like if you want to do it, it can be done.
I've done it.
And I think we all have. That's why we're able to speak on it, right?
Yeah, I think I have like 4 food scales in my house right now. So I think 2
Nice.
of them I've
Okay,
gotten
we're
on
getting
trips
me.
where I forgot mine. But
Okay.
Instacart exists. Like you can do that, guys. Like
Yes.
you don't have to be that person that travels and being like, oh, there's nothing. I guarantee you guys, there's something there because why? There's people where
Absolutely.
you are. And so I'm like, you can Instacart something as simple as what Ben mentioned, as far as like if you have a refrigerator, that's awesome. You get a refrigerator
Right.
microwave. I've actually made egg whites in a bowl in the microwave before. You don't need a stovetop for that. Just microwave it and watch it. And it'll
True.
actually it'll be very hot, but you can still eat it.
It gets the job done.
It
Yeah.
does. It does. It may not be the most glamorous thing. And of course, you can still take advantage of the downstairs breakfast, but I would say just be mindful, like you mentioned before, make some mindful decisions for yourself. They may have, hard-boiled eggs down there. They'll have
Right.
some fruit down there. They might have some
Yep.
granola of some kind. And so you can actually
Some toast, a
I've
bagel.
done that where
Right.
I've like gone downstairs, got some granola, and then added my oatmeal to it upstairs in my room,
Yeah.
making the hot water with like the actual
Right.
coffee machine. So it's like you can get pretty
Yes.
crafty with yourself when you
Definitely.
want to. That's the big thing though. Do you want to? It's just like
Right.
putting in the effort towards
It
that
can
and
be
staying
easy
on
to come
track.
up with an excuse. Absolutely.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. So
Those are some great ideas there, and I think laying out like a sample like meal plan here, just like on air, I think could be super helpful for anyone. So you talked about the oats, right? So let's say you either have a microwave in your room or you got to use one downstairs. Okay, there's a microwave somewhere, right? So we can make the oatmeal, right? I just pour some water in there. Maybe I'm stealing a half a banana from the breakfast, right? So I'm putting that in my oats. I boil that. I throw in a scoop of protein powder that I got at the store, stir it in, whatever. Now I've got protein oatmeal. I got carbs, I got protein. Maybe while I was at the grocery store, I picked up some little individual serving size non-fat Greek yogurt cups, like those 5.3 ounce ones, those little guys. So bump up the protein intake by about 15 grams. So maybe I've got about 50 grams of protein at breakfast right there, right? Maybe lunch is something like a couple deli meat wraps I could make real quick. I could have them cold. I can buy a $5 cooler at the store, right, and bring it with me. Maybe I'm sightseeing or something. I could bring it with me, right? I mentioned protein powder before. I can make a protein shake. They also sell shaker cups at any grocery store, right? I could get one of those. For dinner, I could go the chicken and quick rice route. Quick ready rice route. And I could get a condiment for that food, right? I could get, something like, let's say I picked up a $3 bottle of Ray's sugar-free teriyaki sauce, right? Okay, now I have teriyaki chicken. I'm good to rock and roll. Perfect.
yeah, that's a complete day. It really is.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, and
Right.
it will get the job done. And then, of course, if it's like a work thing and you have work dinners or work lunches, you can plan around it and being like, okay, if I have a night
Yeah.
in, then you can do your teriyaki chicken with your rice. But if you have a big lunch and they give you that, then you can make some mindful decisions and kind of accommodate based upon
Yes.
how you're feeling as well throughout that trip.
Right.
And then just monitor things like your digestion, your sleep, your hydration. I always recommend some of my clients too, maybe even taking some things like digestive enzymes with you when you travel, just because if you know
Great
that you're going
point.
to be having a lot of meals out that are not cooked by you and that, may have stuff in them that you're just not used to, and you've been doing your dieting journey for a long time, that can be helpful to just keep things consistent and keep things moving while you're traveling, because that's the last thing people want
Right.
is to be bloated and just not feeling great when they're doing a
Right.
presentation or sightseeing with their kids and things like that as well. And so I ask my clients
Absolutely.
for those kinds of parameters as far as like what is around you, what's available, what's in your room. Is it an Airbnb, is it a hotel, how are you getting there, what's nearby, what can we do? Because even if it's a gas station, you can get hard-boiled eggs at a gas station. You can get Core Power protein shakes at a gas station. You can get
Right.
jerky. You can get, fresh fruit that's cut. You can get vegetables that are
Yeah.
cut with a little dipping sauce. So you can still do something. But again, I think it goes back to like that effort. That effort has to be there
Right.
and the want has to be there. So we do both
Yeah.
challenge our clients to do the best that they can. And then we also tell them like the goal is not to lose weight on vacation. The goal is not to lose weight
Right.
when you travel. The goal is to come back way similar, give or take maybe a water reduction or inflammation and things like that,
Right.
within a pound or two of when you left. I always consider that a win
Exactly.
because if they, if say they take the same family vacation every single year and every single year they've always come back 8 pounds up or gone on a cruise and come back 10 pounds up. If they come
Right.
back and they weigh the same, that's a huge win because that's not the person they were a year ago.
Absolutely. Yep. What I like to say is when you go on that trip and you return, the goal is to keep that ship afloat, right? And you'll be just fine, and then as far as exercise goes, like if you can't do your 30-minute cardio sessions while you're traveling, like just be active more. When you have to go to some event or whatever, park farther away in the parking lot. Like little things like that add up and help, right? And it's a one-off situation. You're not doing this 365 days a year. Maybe it's 5 days every other month or something for a work situation, or once a year for a family vacation, or whatever. You'll be just fine. And just real quick, if you wanted to bring food with you, like on an airplane, like you can do it. I've done it before where I've cooked meat protein, I've cooked chicken, I've cooked ground meats. I put them in little baggies, Ziploc baggies, and I froze them and I put them in a little cooler that I could bring with me as like my carry-on. I could put it in my carry-on backpack. So now I have several protein meals prepped. I've even cooked and frozen rice and pasta, and I'll put it along in there. I'll put in a bag of frozen veggies and or berries. Stuff it all in there. It's like a built-in ice pack, if you will, right? So maybe it's thawing out while I'm traveling. TSA doesn't mind. They just want to see that it is frozen, right? And a lot of times they barely check. They're like, "Is this frozen?" I'm like, "Yeah." To kind of half look at it, like, "Oh, okay, cool." Right, just keep moving, right? And you're fine. You could put stuff in your luggage. You could put protein powder in your luggage. You can put in little Ziploc baggies. I just wanted to test the limits one time. I bought a $3 bottle of, it was actually sugar-free teriyaki sauce from the store. I was like, I want to see if I could bring this. It doesn't get flagged. 'Cause I know it's liquid. You can't bring liquid, whatever. I put it in my luggage. It didn't get flagged because you can bring it, and then on your carry-on, as long as it's less than, I forgot what it was, a couple ounces, like you get those little individual serving size, like hot sauce things, and for your food while you are en route to your destination. Just bring it on your carry-on, you'll be fine. So it can be done, right?
Yeah,
So there's
it
some more
definitely
ideas.
can be
And
done.
if you are driving, take that stuff, put it in a little bit bigger cooler, you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Driving is a whole lot easier. But yes,
Oh yeah.
TSA stole my peanut butter once.
Oh
But
no.
it was because it was a whole jar. And I'm just like, oops,
Ah.
I forgot. I forgot that I had it in a bag and I just like threw it in my carry-on bag and they stole it. So I was like, lesson learned. So I love if anyone that wants to travel with their nut butters, you can freeze it. You can. They won't take it if it's frozen. So I've done that before if I wanted a bigger serving.
Okay.
But also I
That's
like
smart.
the Justin's nut butter packets. They sell them on Amazon. You can take those with
Oh,
you
okay,
and they're
yeah.
below, they're only like an ounce or something like that. And so they're below the carry-on limits for TSA. And so I've even frozen it just because I've been OCD about it as far as just like, is
Right.
it going to make it through? Because I really want my peanut
Yeah.
butter. It's like,
How good of a mood is this TSA agent in,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I try to be as like nonchalant, nondescript, everything off. Let's
Yes.
go. I don't want to be a burden to anybody, as well. But I'm lucky enough. Like I've even traveled internationally with like protein powder. You just label it.
Okay.
I
There you go.
definitely realized when we went to Jamaica once, like I could tell the TSA went through my bag, and I'm like, did you enjoy looking at my jerky, my rice cakes, and my protein powder that was all labeled?
All labeled.
They would definitely went through it, and I would just like, I'm like, it was hilarious. I was just like, yep, you're
Nice.
fine.
They're probably like, well, hey, this person labeled everything for me, so it makes my life a whole lot easier. Right?
Exactly. The dogs probably had a great time sniffing and like, ooh, this smells sweet. So,
Yeah. Is this still sealed?
yes.
But yeah, no, these are all practical tips that anyone can glean from, right? It's a good reminder. It's good to have on your mind, whether you're traveling or you're just starting from ground zero. You got some macros, like I think we would be doing a terrible disservice as a coach if we just threw macro numbers at someone and just go, hey, here are your macros. This puts you in a calorie deficit. Figure it out. No, that's not what our goal as a coach. We want to educate, right? Like, think of a college professor giving you a study guide for an exam. If I don't look at that study guide, I don't study it at all, I'm going to flunk the exam, right? But if I take a little bit of time to study it, he made it more digestible for me, right? He's not making me read the whole damn textbook. I can look through a study guide, study it, learn the basics or more than the basics, right? And I'll pass the test with flying colors, right? And that's what you have to do, right? If you want to make progress in your fat loss journey, or if you want to just maintain, right? Or if you want to build even, right? It's those calories that count.
Yeah, it does. It really, very well put. I like that term. I was just thinking about it like a study guide, as far as like, that's how we teach our clients and that's how they learn. That way they don't have to stay with us for 5, 10, 15 years doing the same things. It's just like they get equipped and they get to learn about what's in foods, how to build their plate that's going to be healthy and keep them fueled and focused throughout their day towards their goals. And then it's like, yeah, when you have those kind of habits built up, you're right. You don't have to track for the rest of your life. You can still eyeball things. You can still make conscious decisions, because you can lean on those kinds of baseline habits that we've talked about today, of just like looking at your plate, being aware of your what is going into your body and what's in foods, and learning about it, putting in the effort there. And then of course, when you're ready, you fly free, and then you just be a badass on your own. And then you're just also, people are asking you about like what made you successful? What are you doing? I'm over here doing this meal plan where it's tilapia and asparagus for every single meal, and I'm crying. Like, how did you get in a Pop-Tart and prep? Just like, because people start asking you these kind of things, and I think it warms people's hearts that actually learn this stuff. And clients that have left me have come back and said, wow, everyone asked me like, how do I do this? And I've shared like my journey and what I've learned, and then they get to learn too. And then that's how we change the world. So
Absolutely. Yep. And what you just verbalized there, Sarah, is intentionality in structure, right? There's structure to the daily nutrition. There's intentionality to some sort of preparation, so that when you're not logging your calories on MyFitnessPal or wherever anymore, you know what to do. You took the time to learn, right? And now you can impart that information to others. And like you said, you sort of get more passionate about it once you live it, right? And that's what helps you maintain it for yourself, right? Because now you're kind of like an example. People are looking up to you, your family, that sort of thing. And it just makes you a more well-rounded individual overall. Like, I've noticed I'm more structured with things after going through my own fat loss journey. It's just made me more just kind of better overall, right? As just a human, and more efficient with things and all that sort of thing, right? So it goes just beyond that outward appearance and reaching a body fat goal or a scale number goal and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. Honestly, I think that's a great note to end on. Do you have any other final thoughts or tips or anything else that you wanted to kind of bring up they might have missed today?
No, I mean, because the main thing I want to drive home is just have that structure. Take the time to learn, and don't expect perfection off the bat. Humans, we're creatures of habit. It takes some time to develop a new habit. If you're working with a coach, spend some time with the tutor if needed, right? Like, reach out to your coach. They're on your team, right? So if you're like, man, I'm banging my head against a wall, I can't make progress, what the heck is going on? Reach out to their coach. I promise you, they're going to want to help you, right? And you'll reach your goals, So give it time, and hey, it works. It works every single time.
It does. It does. Yes. Guys, you're never bothering your coach if you're asking them questions. And if they say you're bothering them, email one of us. You're never bothering us.
Absolutely. That's
it's
100%
literally
right.
Our job is to answer questions and to help people. It's why we're in this business, is to help people like you. And, so Ben, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate you having us. And we will catch you guys in the next episode.